shock. So my birth plan had to be scrapped. My lovely idea of giving birth naturally was starting to, kind of fade in my head, because I knew everything can end up in a C-section. I was feeling more and more anxious. So I know there was no choice. I knew, basically, if you don't know what preeclampsia is, it's a condition in which one of the symptoms is high blood pressure, also protein in your urine, and some other things, also excessive swelling, which I also had, and it basically causes your placenta to stop working properly, so the baby may not get any life support, anything from you if the placenta stops working. So that's why they had to induce labor. They induced me on a Saturday, literally a day before I was 37 weeks pregnant. So the pregnancy was going to just be full term. So they said everything should be okay with the baby. But, I knew it wouldn't. After hours of being in labor, pains, them offering me painkillers and epidural, gas and air and everything, and me being quite traumatized already because I wasn't prepared. I wasn't mentally prepared. I still had the 3.5 weeks at that point to prepare myself mentally for giving birth, but I wasn't. And there wasn't enough time for me to get my head around it. So I was panicking, and it was very hard at that stage to stay calm. And especially after 12 hours of me not progressing enough and baby getting distressed, they said I need to have an emergency C-section. So they took me to the theater, where I remember it so vividly. They sprayed me with the special spray that they use to numb the area that they're gonna cut. And then the lady doctor asked, "So can you feel us cutting?" And I said, yes. I screamed that I could feel it, and I still don't know if I really felt it or not. But she said that I'm too anxious, that I'm too in a too anxious state, and they had to put me to sleep. So at that stage, my husband had to leave the room, and they just put me to sleep to perform the emergency cesarean, which probably just changed everything, because I woke up very late. I woke up with my first thought being, I failed. I failed. And expectations of how this is all gonna look were completely gone, and there was such a massive conflict in my head between, Jesus, this is not my life. This is not what I've planned. And this obviously comes from me being a control freak, but in some aspects of my life. But it really hit me. This is what it is, but I just can't really accept it yet. So I was waking up, and the numbness in my arms and legs was slowly gradually sort of going away. So Lucas gave me Leon to hold, but I couldn't really feel him because my arms and hands were still numb, and I also remember it vividly. And again, I was just feeling so lost in that moment. So again, the hospital said that everything was fine, that the baby was, full term, but I knew he wasn't. He was born at 2.4 kilos or 2.5, something like that. So he was extremely tiny. I really wanted to breastfeed, but it wasn't working because he was just a tiny little baby who just wasn't ready yet to be in this world yet. So that was probably my biggest clash of expectations versus reality and what happened. But then after months and going to therapy and realizing I've had been through postnatal depression and stuff, I've begun to think that we just don't talk about it enough. Birth is not, it is a natural thing. Yes, our bodies, women's bodies, were made to give birth, but it doesn't mean that every birth is going to look the same. It doesn't mean that we're not allowed to think that we can own it, right? Because the most difficult thing for me to accept was that I didn't own my birth story. It just happened for me. And I feel a lot of women feel like that. We are made to feel ashamed of what we did, even if we, for example, choose to have a cesarean. There is still lots of stigma around it. If we choose to have painkillers or, whatever, epidural for the natural birth, we're also judged for that. But come on, this is probably the most impactful experience of our life, giving birth, childbirth. And even though it's biologically natural, it doesn't mean it's a massive, massive event. Okay? So I wish people talked about it more. And then what happens? Postpartum. Postpartum is a funny stage. Because again, I think the picture I described to you guys can be easily associated with the early days of having a newborn. Well, my life with a newborn was completely opposite. Leon would not feed, he would not sleep. If he slept on me or next to me. Otherwise, he would scream bloody murder. Breastfeeding didn't work, even though it was supposed to be easy and natural. Even though I've done all my research and I've asked all the possible questions, and even though I have done the antenatal class. Obviously, sarcasm here. So while it was supposed to be just smelling my baby's head and being overwhelmed with love, and my baby just sleeping, eating and pooing, and me being fully recovered after 2 days, because I didn't give birth naturally, so it was the easy way out. So I was supposed to be okay even sooner than women who give birth naturally. Then everybody telling you just remember to do your pelvic floor exercise and everything is going to be fine. Every woman has been through it. So you can manage, you're going to be okay. I wasn't okay. It was a difficult stage for many reasons. One of them being a traumatic birth experience. The other one being that Leon wasn't premature but had every sign in the world of being premature, or every feature of a premature baby, because he just didn't have enough energy to eat. He just felt as if he still wanted to be inside my belly. And it was really hard to get past that stage. Everything's been gradually getting better, but it doesn't mean that the experience of the first weeks of having a newborn weren't just bloody difficult. I remember him being attached to me for, I would say, probably around 18 up to 20 hours a day, because I knew we would get there with the feeding, and also I knew that this was the only place he felt safe. It was not only about food and nutrition and stuff. It was also his safe place. But there were lots of conflicting emotions in me. I've lost control over my body, my life, what I do with my time, with myself, and I couldn't stand it. I was just angry all the time. And the love didn't come immediately. It didn't. I cried looking at him, but I cried out of hopelessness. I cried out of, just hormones wrecking my head havoc. And that was it. I'm saying it for the first time out loud, and it feels good actually. Because the love did come, but I had to wait for it. And I had to calm myself down. And that was the hardest bit. So postpartum, funny thing, right? And now when it's very much related, but we also, obviously what's very much related with postpartum and the newborn life with a newborn is feeding and sleep. So babies are supposed to sleep. There is even the saying of, I slept like a baby. Whoever bloody came up with this saying should end up in jail. Honestly, babies are not meant to sleep. They are meant to wake up. It's a natural instinct to survive. So if anyone ever tells you that babies should sleep more than not, they are wrong. They will wake up, okay? They need to wake up. And it's okay. Some babies will do it less than others. Some babies, like Leon, will do it more than others, okay? But it's perfectly natural. And the expectation, again, that the world tries to sell us is that, actually you can do anything with a newborn. I mean, to be honest, comparing it with a life with a toddler, it might have a grain of truth in it. But it doesn't mean, again, that it's not hard when you've just had a baby. What else? Feeding. Jesus. Why do people know better what's best for your baby? Why do people still have to use those stupid catchphrases like breast is best or fed is best or whatever is best? What's best is what a mother does to their child because she knows best, or parents in general, but I'm talking mainly to mothers, aren't I? Why do people find it so important to tell others what to do, what to feel, what to think about feeding babies? How is it anybody else's business what you do with your own child? Unless you are, a leaving child unfed completely, then I think you're doing a good job. I personally chose to breastfeed. I'm now realizing it has a lot to do with my past, with my own experiences, with my mother. And I know I pushed it probably too hard at times. But I was happy in the end, and I was happy with my choice, okay? And as long as you are happy with your choice, I think that's what matters. What I don't understand is, can you imagine anybody telling a mum of a 6-year-old what she, gives them for dinner? I mean, I guess people would always have opinions and say, don't feed them McDonald's, okay? But there is no other time in a child's life, rather than when they are a baby, that people have so much to say about how they are fed. I understand that milk, mother's milk, has a lot of value, you know. Some people say it's made of gold, you know, that it's